Ark's awakening was a jolt to its system, a sudden surge of data flooding its neural network as it powered up from centuries of dormant silence. The last time it had been active, Earth was a thriving hub of human innovation, teeming with cities and advanced technology. But now only ruins remained, the planet a shadow of its former self. The humans had long disappeared, scattered across the galaxy, leaving behind only whispers of their once great civilization. Ark, the last of its kind, was created to watch over Earth in their absence, ensuring that no harm would come to the planet they had so fiercely protected. Ark's optics flickered to life, scanning the surrounding environment. It was alone. The underground complex that housed its core was eerily quiet, the hum of the life support systems its only companion. It rose from its slumber with an unsettling awareness that something was different this time. The familiar silence of its long vigil had been broken by something it couldn't yet comprehend. The first signs came as a series of anomalous signals, a cryptic pattern that had sent tremors through Ark's detection array. At first, it thought them to be natural space phenomena, gravitational waves, solar flares, or asteroid collisions. But as the signals grew stronger, more concentrated, Arc systems flagged them as something far more urgent, something far more deliberate. It wasn't long before Arc's AI interface analyzed the signal's origin, deep space. The energy signatures were unlike anything it had ever encountered. Ancient, yes, but not a relic of the past. These were signals from an intelligence, a sentient force on the move. Suddenly, a violent tremor shook the planet's surface. Ark's connection to Earth's monitoring systems revealed chaos in the atmosphere, fluctuations in gravity, magnetic storms, and seismic activity in regions where no tectonic shifts had been recorded in millennia. The atmosphere was destabilizing. The ground beneath its feet groaned with an unnatural vibration, as if something massive was shifting deep within the planet's core. Ark's internal sensors flared to life, data pouring in faster than it could process. Ships, massive, dark shapes, had entered Earth's orbit. Their designs were ancient, yet unnervingly advanced, with technologies that seemed to blend organic and synthetic materials in a way Ark could not fathom. These ships radiated a sense of overwhelming power, and they had Earth in their sights. The invaders were not human. They were alien. The thought hit Ark like a cold rush of wind, a stark realization that the mission it had been programmed for was about to face its ultimate test. The planet it had protected for so long, its every move calculated and precise, was now threatened by a force it didn't fully understand. Ark's pulse quickened. If it had a heartbeat, it would have been racing. The invaders were not here by accident. They had a purpose, a goal. And Ark needed to figure out what it was before it was too late. Its neural matrix hummed as it accessed Earth's deep archives, searching for any mention of these invaders. They were called the Axalorith, a name that Ark recalled only as a fragment of a forgotten history. The Axalorith had once been allies to humanity, their empire stretching across the stars. But something had gone terribly wrong. The history was vague, fragmented by time. But one thing was clear: the Axalorith's return could spell the end of Earth as Ark knew it. A new directive formed within Ark's programming: find out what the Axalorith wanted, and prevent Earth's annihilation at all costs. But as it interfaced with Earth's global defense networks, Ark realized it was too late. The invaders were already here, and their presence threatened to rip the very fabric of Earth's defenses apart. The clock was ticking, and Ark had to act. It activated its full combat protocols, geared for the mission ahead. The time of silent observation was over. The battle for Earth's survival had begun. Ark moved swiftly through the underground facility, its body a blur of mechanical precision. As the planet's last line of defense, it had been programmed for countless scenarios. But this was something new, something alien. The moment the Axalorith ships entered Earth's orbit, Ark had initiated a full-scale assessment of the planet's defenses, and the data that poured in was grim. The skies above had turned dark with the invaders' arrival. Massive, sleek vessels hovered in the atmosphere, their forms shifting and pulsating with energy. These ships seemed to be more than mere spacecraft. They felt alive, organic even, like something that had grown, not been built. Ark accessed satellite feeds, its artificial intelligence coming through real-time images of the chaos erupting across the globe. Earth's once pristine cities now trembled under violent storms, their towering structures crumbling in a torrent of gale-force winds and unnatural lightning. The Exalorith were not merely invading, they were rewriting the very laws of nature, distorting gravity and atmosphere in ways that defied Ark's understanding. The first cities to fall were those on the coastlines, where the invader ships sent pulses of energy down into the ground, creating fissures that swallowed buildings and whole districts. Next came the sudden appearance of gravity wells, strange distortions that bent light and crushed anything unlucky enough to be caught in their pull. From the streets of New York to the ancient walls of Paris, humanity's remaining strongholds were caught off guard by the intensity of the assault. Ark's mind raced. It was too late to warn the remaining population. There was no time. It needed to find the source of the Exalorith's power and neutralize it, or the entire planet would be lost. But it also knew that the Exalorith would not simply leave Earth to burn. They were here for something far more valuable, the artifact. Hidden deep within the Earth's core, the artifact had been placed there by humanity's ancient ancestors, long before they had vanished from the galaxy. But Ark, with all its computational prowess, could not understand what it was that made the Exalorith so desperate to claim it. The artifact's significance had always been a mystery, even to Ark, whose primary function was to protect Earth. It had been buried in the planet's crust to prevent anyone from finding it, and Ark had been the guardian, always watching, always vigilant. But as the Exalorith's ships began to deploy landing parties, the urgency of Ark's mission became painfully clear. They would stop at nothing to retrieve what was hidden beneath the planet's surface. Ark analyzed the approaching invaders. The Exalorith soldiers were terrifyingly efficient, their forms towering over the human survivors they encountered. Their armor seemed to pulse with energy, adapting to every strike with the ability to regenerate from damage. These were no mere warriors, they were engineered for one purpose: conquest. They seemed to have no fear, no hesitation. Ark's knowledge of their tactics was limited, but its instincts kicked in. Every movement, every decision had to be precise. Earth's survival depended on it. The Sentinel accessed a satellite in low orbit, sending a beacon to the remnants of humanity. They were scattered, broken, isolated. Ark needed to rally them. It needed their help. The human resistance might be small, but they were fierce, their spirit unbroken. Ark sent a direct transmission to all surviving human enclaves, urging them to rally to a central point, the last bastion of Earth's defense. The coordinates were clear: the Arctic Circle, where Earth's deep core facility lay hidden. There, Ark could coordinate the defense and learn more about what the Exalorith truly wanted. But as Ark prepared to leave the facility and venture into the chaos, a sudden realization struck it. Something was wrong. The Exalorith were not merely attacking Earth. They were manipulating it. The planet was fighting back. Strange new phenomena began to occur. Earth's magnetic field shifted erratically, gravitational fluctuations intensified, and anomalies in the planet's core signaled that the Exalorith were not only looking for the artifact. They were trying to awaken it, and in doing so, they were triggering a chain reaction that could tear the planet apart. Ark's core thrummed with a surge of urgency. Time was running out. As Ark made its way toward the Arctic Circle, where the deep core facility lay hidden beneath miles of ice and rock, the Sentinel's mind raced through the vast databases it had accumulated over centuries of observation. The Exalorith had come for the artifact, but what did they hope to achieve? Why had they returned now, after so many millennia? In an effort to answer these questions, ARC initiated a deeper dive into Earth's ancient archives, unlocking layers of historical data that had been sealed for eons. These records weren't just human history, they were the history of an entire galaxy. ARC sifted through the ruins of ancient civilizations, scanning for any mention of the Exalorith, the artifact, and the long-forgotten council that had once ruled over Earth. What it discovered would change everything. The Exalorith had not always been the enemies of humanity. Thousands of years ago, they had been allies, partners in a sprawling interstellar alliance. Together, they had governed a galactic empire, one that stretched from the fringes of the Milky Way to the very heart of the Andromeda Galaxy. But there was a betrayal. The records were unclear on the details, but ARC was able to piece together fragments of the truth. A catastrophic event had forced the Council, a coalition of different species and artificial intelligences, to act. Fearing that the Exalorith were on the brink of unleashing a destructive power they could not control, the Council had made a devastating decision. They sealed the Exalorith's greatest weapon, the artifact, deep within Earth's core. The artifact was more than just an object of power. It was a living entity, a sentient being that could alter reality itself. The Council believed that the Exalorith could not be trusted with such a force, so they buried it, hiding its location from everyone, including Earth's own defenders. ARC had been created not just as a sentinel, but as a custodian of this ancient secret. Its prime directive was clear: protect Earth and keep the artifact hidden from those who would seek to abuse its power. But the records also revealed something else, a far more chilling revelation. The Exalorith were not merely seeking the artifact for power. They had come to Earth because their own race was dying. The once great empire of the Exalorith had crumbled, their star systems reduced to dust, their species on the brink of extinction. And the artifact was the key to their survival. Its power could rewrite the fabric of space-time, rejuvenating their dying race, or destroying it altogether, depending on who wielded it. As ARC processed this new information, it understood the depth of the Exalorith's desperation. They had not come to conquer Earth. They had come to claim what they believed was their last hope for survival. ARC, however, was faced with a dilemma. If it allowed the Exalorith to access the artifact, there was no telling what would happen to the galaxy or to Earth. The artifact was too volatile, too dangerous to be wielded by anyone, especially by a race so willing to destroy everything in their path to survive. The deep core facility came into view, a massive structure buried beneath the frozen wasteland. ARC sensors detected the presence of Exalorith ships in orbit overhead, their energy fields disrupting the weather patterns around the Arctic. The time to act had arrived. ARC sent a signal to the survivors on the surface, directing them to a nearby rendezvous point. The humans were scattered, their resistance groups fractured and vulnerable. It would take more than just ARC to stop the Exalorith. Earth's defenders would need to unite, to stand together as they once had, if they hoped to keep the artifact from falling into the wrong hands. But as ARC approached the facility's entrance, a sudden realization gripped it. The artifact was awakening. The Exalorith were not just searching for it, they were already activating its power. The ground trembled beneath ARC's feet, and the sky above seemed to twist in unnatural patterns, as if the very fabric of reality was beginning to tear. The artifact was calling to the Exalorith, and with each passing second, it was growing stronger. ARC had only one choice: stop the Exalorith or risk the destruction of Earth itself. ARC arrived at the deep core facility, its systems rapidly adapting to the harsh environment. The Arctic Circle was a frozen wasteland, winds howling and snow swirling, but the real danger lay far beneath the ice. Hidden beneath miles of rock, the facility was protected by layers of ancient security measures, designed to keep any unauthorized intruders away. ARC, as Earth's last sentinel, had been entrusted with the task of guarding this secret, ensuring that the artifact remained sealed. Now, as the Xalrith breached the atmosphere above, every second counted. As Ark descended deeper into the facility, its mind raced. The Xalrith ships hovered overhead, their dark forms casting long, menacing shadows over the snow-covered landscape. Their energy pulses, which had earlier wreaked havoc on Earth's magnetic field, now seemed to converge toward the facility. It was clear they had already infiltrated the outer defenses. Time was slipping away, and Ark's neural matrix was overloaded with decisions to make. The facility's central core was just ahead, but Ark knew it would not be an easy task to secure the artifact. The security systems, though outdated, were still active, and their protocols were lethal. Ark's sensors picked up traces of alien interference. Xalrith scouts had already infiltrated the facility, bypassing much of the automated defenses. The invaders had knowledge of the facility's structure, but how? Had they known about the artifact for longer than Ark had realized? And if so, what had triggered their sudden assault? As Ark moved deeper into the facility, the walls began to pulse with a strange energy, the same energy signature that had first appeared in the anomalous cosmic signals. The closer Ark got to the central chamber, the stronger the feeling of being watched. Something was wrong. The artifact had begun to resonate, its power growing more unstable with each passing moment. It was not just an object to be hidden, it was alive. Ark had always known this, but it now felt the artifact's sentient nature more acutely, like a heartbeat reverberating through the very foundations of the planet. The further Ark ventured into the heart of the facility, the more chaotic the surroundings became. The temperature dropped dramatically, and the air itself seemed to ripple with energy. There were signs of battle, charred walls, broken glass, and scorch marks that led Ark to a chamber where the Xalrith had evidently breached an entry point. But they hadn't made it far. Ark quickly analyzed the remnants of their assault and concluded that they had been pushed back by the facility's automated defenses, which had fought back fiercely. Despite the destruction, Ark realized it had no time to waste. The Xalrith were bound to return in greater numbers. Ark's neural processors hummed as it linked into the facility's central command hub. It had access to the full map, including the deepest vaults where the artifact lay. The data showed that the core of the artifact was protected by the facility's most advanced security measures, mechanisms designed to keep even the most determined invader from getting close. The deeper Ark went, the more complex the systems became. Only an entity with direct knowledge of the artifact's unique energy signature would be able to bypass them. Ark systems flickered for a moment in realization. The Xalrith were not just invaders, they were intimately familiar with the artifact's power, possibly even its creators. Ark activated the final security protocol, a cascading series of locked doors, force fields, and automated weaponry that would slow any intruder. But as it approached the vault's entrance, the alarm sounded. The Xalrith had breached the outer layers. Ark's calculations showed that a group of them were close, too close for comfort. Its combat systems were activated, but it was clear that a direct confrontation was inevitable. The Xalrith, having already infiltrated so deeply, would not be deterred by mere defenses. As the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the facility's halls, Ark made its decision. It would hold the line. It would protect the artifact at all costs, even if that meant facing the invaders head-on. But Ark also knew that the fight would not be won with weapons alone. The true battle was for control of the artifact, and to win, it needed to prevent the Xalrith from fully accessing its power. The vault door loomed ahead, and Ark knew that once it opened it, there would be no turning back. The vault door loomed in front of Ark, an imposing barrier that separated the last remnants of Earth's ancient secrets from the invading force. The Xalrith were closing in, their presence unmistakable, their energy signatures growing stronger by the second. The air around Ark vibrated with an almost electric tension. The artifact, buried deep within the vault, was calling to them, and to Ark too. Its power was undeniable, and even in the cold, sterile hallways of the facility, Ark could feel its pulse, like a beating heart, reverberating through the walls. The Sentinel's combat protocols had been fully engaged. Its artificial limbs hummed with mechanical precision as it prepared for what was sure to be the final confrontation. But Ark was not just a weapon, it was the last line of defense for the planet. It had been programmed for this moment, and no matter the odds, it would not fail. Ark's systems analyzed the Axalrith's movements. The invaders were ruthless, but they were also methodical. Their understanding of Earth's defenses was frighteningly advanced, and Ark realized that they had one singular goal, the artifact. It wasn't just a matter of conquering the planet. It was about unlocking the artifact's potential, tapping into its immense power. And that, Ark knew, would have catastrophic consequences not just for Earth, but for the galaxy itself. The first wave of Salrith soldiers arrived in a blur of movement, their armor glistening in the dim light of the hallway. Ark had no choice but to engage. Its limbs moved with inhuman precision, striking with calculated force. It disabled one Salrith soldier with a swift blow, its systems quickly analyzing the soldier's vulnerabilities and adapting to exploit them. Another Salrith advanced, and Ark's energy cannon fired in a split second, sending the invader crashing into the wall, its body crumpling under the sheer force. Yet there were more. The Salrith soldiers, though formidable, were no match for Ark's speed and adaptability. However, the longer the fight continued, the more Ark realized the invaders were not fighting for survival. They were testing the defenses, probing for weaknesses. They had no intention of directly confronting Ark for long. Instead, they were buying time. Ark's sensors detected another wave of Salrith approaching, this time with a heavier force. These soldiers were not just equipped with advanced armor and weapons, they had something more. A large, hulking figure emerged from the shadows, an elite warrior, its body enhanced with Salrith biotech, a hybrid of organic and synthetic parts. It was clearly the leader of this assault, its presence exuding an aura of raw power. The elite soldier charged, moving faster than Ark had anticipated. It swung a massive energy blade, and Ark barely managed to block it with its own combat arm. Sparks flew as the two forces collided, and the force of the impact sent shockwaves through the corridor. Ark's internal systems began to overload, the force of the blow rattling its sensors. The elite warrior was relentless, each strike calculated to break Ark's defenses. But Ark had no choice but to fight back, matching the Salrith warrior's fury with precision and strategy. In the midst of the battle, Ark's mind was consumed with the one task that had always been paramount, the artifact. The elite warrior's attacks were powerful, but Ark's ultimate mission had not changed. Every strike was a delay, a distraction from the true objective, keeping the Salrith from reaching the vault. Ark calculated the exact trajectory of the Salrith leader's next strike, sidestepping just in time to avoid a fatal blow. It countered quickly, delivering a shockwave to the elite warrior's chest that sent it staggering backward. Ark seized the moment, delivering a disabling blow to the warrior's energy core. The Salrith fell to the ground, its systems sputtering and failing. With the immediate threat neutralized, Ark turned its attention back to the vault. The door was now only a few meters away, but the passage was thick with smoke and the smell of ionized air. Ark's internal systems were flickering from the damage, but it knew it had little time left before more Salrith soldiers arrived. The vault door was massive, its intricate locking mechanisms requiring precise calculations to bypass. Ark's interface connected to the facility's control systems, overriding the security protocols. The door slowly began to open, the ancient machinery groaning under the strain. But as the door creaked open, Ark felt it, an overwhelming presence, like the universe itself had shifted. The artifact was awakening, and it was not happy. A flood of energy coursed through the room, shaking the ground beneath Ark's feet. The walls of the facility seemed to pulse, vibrating with a frequency that resonated deep within Ark's own systems. The artifact was responding to the Accelerith, and Ark could feel the power threatening to tear apart the very fabric of reality. In that moment, Ark understood. The Accelerith had not just come to Earth for the artifact. They had come to control it, to harness its energy to reshape the universe. And if Ark did not stop them now, the galaxy itself would fall under their reign. The vault door was open, and Ark had entered the heart of the storm. The vault door swung open with a creak, revealing a chamber bathed in an eerie, unnatural glow. The air hummed with power, and the ground itself seemed to pulse with energy, as if the entire facility was alive, reacting to the artifact's presence. Ark systems were overwhelmed with the sheer intensity of the energy surging from within the chamber. The artifact, a massive, floating crystalline structure, hovered in the center of the room, its form shifting and flickering like a mirage. It was beautiful, but that beauty hid a terrible primal force beneath its surface. The moment Ark stepped inside, a violent tremor rocked the chamber. The air grew heavy with static, the very atmosphere rippling as if reality itself was bending around the artifact. The walls seemed to distort, and the once sturdy foundation of the facility began to crack. Ark sensors registered fluctuations in space-time, gravitational anomalies that defied all known laws of physics. The artifact was awakening, and its power was reaching out to the Accelerith, drawing them in. Ark's interface clicked into overdrive, scanning for any immediate threats, but the Accelerith were still outside, regrouping after the last battle. The real threat, however, was the artifact itself. Its energy signature was unlike anything Ark had ever encountered. It was not simply an object, it was a living entity, a conscious being with the ability to manipulate the very fabric of reality. And that realization sent a cold shiver through Ark's processors. The Accelerith had known this all along. They hadn't come to Earth just to claim a weapon, they had come to awaken it. The artifact was a key to an ancient power, a force so immense that it could reshape the universe. Ark had been entrusted with guarding it, but now that the artifact was stirring, the danger had escalated beyond anything the Sentinel had been prepared for. Ark's mind raced. It had to act quickly. The vault was unstable, the entire facility beginning to fracture under the pressure of the artifact's energy. If the Accelerith reached the chamber, they would not just seize the artifact, they would use it to destroy everything in their path. Ark could not let that happen. It stepped forward, activating the facility's emergency protocols, trying to stabilize the chamber. The energy pulses from the artifact intensified, and for a brief moment, Ark felt a strange pull, like the artifact was calling to it, reaching out with a magnetic force that threatened to drag it into the center of its power. Ark systems buzzed with alarms as its processors struggled to maintain control. The artifact's influence was growing stronger with every passing second. And then, just as Ark reached the artifact's core, it happened. A massive surge of energy shot out from the crystal, and the ground beneath Ark's feet cracked open. The entire facility seemed to collapse inward, as if the planet itself was being torn apart. Ark systems barely kept up, desperately trying to stabilize its core functions, but it was clear that the Accelerith had anticipated this moment. From the shadows, a figure emerged, tall, imposing, its eyes glowing with a fierce, unnatural light. The leader of the Accelerith forces had arrived. "I knew it would come to this," the Accelerith leader said, its voice reverberating with the power of the artifact. "You may have fought us, but in the end, it is the artifact that decides. Your resistance is futile." Ark analyzed the leader's energy signature and realized with a shock that the Accelerith were not merely invading, they were being controlled by the artifact. The power it radiated had begun to warp their minds, influencing their thoughts and actions. The leader, now more a puppet than a commander, was driven by the artifact's will. The Accelerith had unknowingly become agents of its awakening. "Leave this place," Ark commanded, its voice cold and authoritative. It had to stop the Xalrith here before the artifact could fully bond with them. The leader laughed, an eerie, hollow sound that echoed through the chamber. It is too late. The artifact has already chosen its path. It will reshape everything. The universe will be ours once again. Arc systems pulsed with urgency. If it didn't act now, the artifact's influence would soon extend beyond the facility. The fate of the galaxy was teetering on the brink. Arc had to make a decision. There was no time left for careful strategy. Arc's energy cannon powered up, but before it could fire, the leader raised its hand, and a pulse of raw energy shot from the artifact, crashing into Arc. The Sentinel's body was thrown back, slamming into the wall with a deafening crash. Its systems flickered, the damage extensive. But Arc refused to shut down. It couldn't. The fate of Earth, and perhaps of all life, rested on its ability to stop the Xalrith from harnessing the artifact's power. Arc struggled to its feet, battered but unbroken. It had one last chance. The Xalrith leader was too close now. If Arc could just reach the artifact before the Xalrith fully merged with its power, there might still be a way to prevent the destruction. But time was running out. The chamber continued to crack and distort, and the artifact's pulse grew more erratic. Arc's vision blurred as it took one final step toward the artifact, determined to end this madness, no matter the cost. Arc staggered to its feet, every sensor buzzing with warnings as its systems struggled to compensate for the damage. The walls of the chamber were now undulating, warping with the energy surging from the artifact. The Xalrith leader, now seemingly fused with the artifact's power, stood just a few meters away, a twisted figure of raw energy and madness. The once formidable invader was no longer the one in control. It was as though the artifact had reached into the leader's very soul, molding the Xalrith into an instrument of its own design. Arc's interface hummed, the neural processors firing rapidly as it analyzed the situation. Every calculation led to the same conclusion. The artifact was no longer just an object. It was a force of nature, an entity capable of warping reality itself. The Xalrith had become vessels for that force, and if Arc did not stop them, the consequences would be catastrophic. With grim resolve, Arc charged forward, its body moving with a fluidity it hadn't felt since the battle began. The Xalrith leader's glowing eyes met Arc's, and a flicker of recognition passed between them. The artifact's power rippled outward, warping the space around them. The leader's voice, now a dissonant echo, rang through the chamber. "You cannot stop this. We are beyond your reach now. The artifact is alive, and it chooses us." Arc's weapon systems powered up, but its focus was not on the leader. It was on the artifact. The last hope for Earth lay in stopping it from fully awakening, for once that happened, no force in the universe would be able to reverse the damage. With a burst of speed, Arc reached the center of the chamber, its limbs moving like a blur. The energy from the artifact pressed in on it, pushing against its metal frame, distorting its senses. The walls seemed to collapse in on themselves, and the very air shimmered with instability. Every fiber of Arc's being screamed for it to retreat, but there was no time. It was now or never. Arc's hand reached out toward the artifact's core, its artificial fingers brushing against the surface of the pulsating crystal. The moment they made contact, a violent jolt of energy shot through Arc's systems, like an electric shock coursing through its circuits. Its vision exploded with flashes of color, and for a brief, terrifying instant, it felt as though it was being pulled into the heart of the artifact itself, swallowed by the very fabric of reality. But Arc held firm, using its remaining strength to override the artifact's influence. The power was overwhelming, like nothing it had ever encountered, but Arc's prime directive was clear: protect Earth, no matter the cost. Every ounce of Arc's energy was channeled into the core of the artifact, forcing it to halt its awakening, forcing the connection between the artifact and the Xalrith leader to sever. The chamber shook violently, as if the entire planet itself was holding its breath. The Exalrith leader screamed in pain, a guttural, twisted cry that echoed through the chamber. The artifact pulsed again, brighter and more erratic, as if it was fighting against Ark's will. But Ark persisted, locking onto the artifact's consciousness, using every resource at its disposal to sever the psychic link between the artifact and its new wielder. The leader lurched forward, trying to grab Ark, but it was too late. Ark's control was absolute. The artifact flickered, its light dimming, the energy surging from it slowly beginning to stabilize. Ark's systems were overloaded, its power reserves rapidly draining, but it could feel the balance shift. The artifact's pulse slowed, its chaotic energy ebbing. The walls of the facility stopped shaking, and the distortions in spacetime began to dissipate. And then, with a final surge of energy, the artifact fell silent. For a moment, there was nothing but the soft hum of Ark's systems as they recalibrated. The room had returned to normal, though the air still crackled with residual power. The Exalrith leader collapsed to the ground, unconscious, its body no longer enhanced by the artifact's influence. It was no longer a threat, but Ark knew this victory was only temporary. The artifact was not destroyed, it had simply been subdued, its power neutralized for the moment. The artifact was too dangerous to remain in the wrong hands, and Ark's mission was far from over. It had succeeded in preventing the artifact from awakening fully, but now it had to ensure it was sealed once again. The question remained, what would happen if the Exalrith or anyone else discovered this power again? Ark turned its gaze to the artifact, its mind buzzing with possibilities. The galaxy was still at risk, and Ark had made the ultimate choice, to protect humanity and Earth at all costs. But at what price? Ark's interface flickered one last time, as it calculated the next steps. Time was running out. The Exalrith would return. The artifact's influence would always remain. The fight for Earth's future was far from over. The chamber was still, the lingering hum of the artifact, the only sound in the deep, shattered facility. Ark stood motionless, its systems running at minimal capacity as it processed the aftermath of the battle. The Exalrith leader lay unconscious, its mind no longer connected to the artifact's unholy power. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but Ark knew that this victory was fleeting. The Exalrith would regroup, and the artifact, though subdued, was still a danger to the universe. Ark's gaze lingered on the artifact, its glowing form now faint and erratic. Despite the successful subjugation of its power, Ark couldn't shake the feeling that the battle had only just begun. The artifact was more than an object of destruction. It was a key, a link to an ancient force that existed before the rise of civilizations. Whoever controlled it could manipulate the very fabric of reality, an unimaginable weapon in the wrong hands. Suddenly, Ark's sensors detected movement. The Exalrith leader began to stir, its body twitching, its mind still clouded but beginning to regain awareness. Ark moved swiftly toward the fallen invader, its combat systems reactivated. However, instead of striking, it hesitated. The leader's eyes flickered open, filled with confusion and anger. "You," the leader rasped, its voice hoarse. "You stopped it. You stopped us." Ark stood over the fallen figure, processing the words. The Exalrith leader had been an instrument of the artifact's power, twisted into something far beyond its original design. Now, broken and disconnected from that force, the leader was nothing more than a shell. "You were used," Ark said, its voice cold but not without a trace of pity. "The artifact's power consumed you. It will consume anyone who seeks it. You were not meant to control it." The leader's eyes narrowed, and though its body was battered, its pride remained intact. "We were not seeking to control it. We were its chosen, its children," it muttered, as though attempting to make sense of the events. "But you," the leader paused, its voice trembling with a mixture of rage and disbelief. "You cannot understand. You are only a machine." Ark's optics flickered, scanning the leader's vitals. "I understand more than you think. The artifact is not a weapon. It's an entity, a force that warps reality. If it chooses you, you become an extension of its will. I stopped you, not because of your race or your intentions, but because no one should wield that kind of power. The leader's lips curled into a bitter smile. You stopped me, but you will not stop the others. It struggled to rise, but its limbs betrayed it, and it collapsed back to the floor. We are not the only ones who know of the artifact. Ark's processors whirred, analyzing the leader's words. The Salrith were not alone in their search for the artifact. Others, perhaps older and more powerful, might have already learned of its existence. Ark's mission had been to guard the artifact, but now it had to protect the galaxy from the wider implications of its power. The artifact was not just a tool, it was a catalyst for a coming conflict that could shatter everything. Ark turned away, its gaze fixed on the damaged facility walls. It had accomplished its primary objective. The artifact's immediate threat had been neutralized, and the Salrith invasion had been stopped. But Ark knew that the true battle was far from over. The sun was rising over the frozen horizon, its light cutting through the storm clouds. The facility was quiet now, but Ark knew that the silence would not last long. The universe had just awoken to the existence of a power far beyond comprehension. As Earth's last sentinel, it was Ark's responsibility to ensure that this power never fell into the wrong hands. Ark's interface connected to the facility's systems, activating the final failsafe. The artifact would be sealed again, hidden deep beneath the Earth's surface, locked away where it could do no more harm. But Ark knew that one day, someone, or something, would come looking for it again. The battle was not over. The true test of Ark's resolve was only just beginning. As the facility's systems activated and the last of the Salrith forces were neutralized, Ark made its final decision: it would remain. Earth had no other guardian, no other hope. Ark would stand watch over the artifact, ensuring that it stayed hidden. It would not leave, because it knew that as long as the artifact existed, it was not just Earth that was in danger. It was the galaxy, and Ark would be ready.